All right. So in the chat, number 1, what is a mutation? Who looked it up? Underdeveloped, overdeveloped, or missing a gene. Okay. The result of something when it is done incorrectly, like when there's a change in chromosomes. Okay. But how do you change a chromosome? A mutation is just a change in what? What are chromosomes made of? DNA, yep. A mutation is just a change in DNA, which can potentially change the entire chromosome, which will cause problems like underdeveloped or overdeveloped, missing genes, extra genes. So yes, all of your answers would be considered correct. All right, can you name anything that is the result of a mutation? Any kind of animals or plants or bacteria or viruses? Certain disorders are. Do you know what disorders? We'll talk about a specific one, but I just want to see if anybody knows any going in. No, adaptations aren't necessarily mutations. Those are two different things. Adaptations can come from mutations. Cancer's a mutation, yes. Cancer's a mutation in cell cycle, good. Also, the coronavirus has mutated, in case you didn't know. It's when they talk about different strains or different variants of the coronavirus, of COVID-19. There are different strains now that have come out, and those are mutations. Down syndrome is kind of different. That involves a whole chromosome and not just one nucleotide of DNA. That's a whole extra chromosome. But yeah, I guess you could consider it a mutation. It is a change in DNA. But we don't necessarily talk about it like that. All right, good. So essential question is, can DNA change? The answer is yes. And it is called a mutation. Mutations are changes in the DNA that may or may not affect physical features. Sometimes they do, like in the picture, the turtle on the left has 2 heads. The duck in the middle has 4 feet. And the alligator on the right has some black patches on his face. Those are all the results of mutations. Like I said, the coronavirus is mutated. Bacteria mutate all the time to be resistant to our antibiotics. Hi, Alex. But these are extreme cases of mutation. Not all mutations result in a change in something's physical features. So mutation is a change in an organism's DNA. Many kinds of mutations can occur, especially during replication. Replication is that process we talked about a few weeks ago, where the DNA replicates itself right before mitosis. So the cell can get split and pass on a full complement of information, a full genome, to the daughter cell. There's different types of mutation. A point mutation substitutes one nucleotide for another. It can also be called a substitution mutation. A frame shift mutation inserts or deletes a nucleotide in the DNA sequence. And as we read our codons by 3 by 3 by 3, if you insert one or delete one, the whole reading frame shifts over. And then chromosomal mutations affect many genes. So these are some examples. You're going to see some of these examples in your quizzes this week. So at the top, that's the normal gene. And they're using words instead of the nucleotides, but each word represents an amino acid in a protein. And the protein would be the whole sentence. The fat cat ate the rat. Each word is 3 letters long, just like our codons. A substitution mutation is also called a point mutation. So we're playing with that first F in the fat. So if we replace the F with an H, it becomes the hat cat ate the rat. You can still read that. It doesn't really make sense, but it's not completely unreadable. But the third and the fourth one, the deletion and the insertion, the deletion, they deleted the F altogether, so the reading frame had to shift over. On the last one, they inserted an extra F, so the reading frame shifted over the other way. You still have to read them by threes, but now the groups of 3 make no sense. Those are called frame shift mutations. No, you didn't have to do this page for notes, Jacob. But like I said, you will see this on your quizzes this week. So make sure you either come back to it or you know what's going on. So some mutations affect physical traits. Some gene mutations will change the physical features of an organism, which can be either beneficial or harmful. Beneficial means it will benefit them and it will help them survive or reproduce in their particular environment. Or harmful, most of the time harmful mutations just ensures the organism dies. Somatic mutations occur in non-reproductive cells and won't be passed to offspring. But germline mutations, remember we called our germ cells, the gametes, sperm, egg, germ cells, they all mean the same thing. Germline mutations in the sperm and eggs will get passed on to offspring. Sickle cell anemia is caused by a single nucleotide substitution in the DNA strand that codes for hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the molecule that carries iron in our blood. Iron is very important for our blood to circulate oxygen in our bodies, so we actually need that to be healthy. But just one tiny little base pair change, one substitution, and a person has sickle cell anemia. Their red blood cells form a sickle shape instead of a circle like they should be, and they don't carry oxygen as well as it should. So this is what I mean by disorders. This is a specific disorder caused by one point mutation. Down syndrome is caused by something called non-disjunction. And that's an entire extra chromosome, which is different. Some mutations do not affect physical traits. Sometimes a mutation is silent. It can either code for the same amino acid, which is a phenomenon called redundancy. If you look at the genetic code on the bottom, I know you guys don't have that because I just added it. But if you remember how to read it, CCC codes for proline. But so does CCU, CCA, and CCG. So if there's a mutation and it just changed that third base in a codon, it's going to code for proline anyway, so it doesn't matter. It also may not affect the physical shape of the protein. Each protein has a different shape depending on their properties. Some of them are acidic, some are basic, some are positive, have a more positive charge, some have a more negative charge. If it just swaps out an amino acid with a positive charge with another amino acid that kind of looks the same and has the same charge, it doesn't necessarily change the shape of the entire protein. And if it doesn't change the shape, it doesn't really change the function. So not all mutations are bad. So most of them you can't even tell they've been changed. Mutations can be caused by several factors. Replication errors cause mutations. That's the most common because our cells are always going through replication. Then there are things called mutagens, such as UV rays or X-rays and certain chemicals. These cause mutations. Too many UV rays and you can get skin cancer. So there's your cancer mutation. And then there's cancer drugs that actually cause mutations on purpose in order to kill cancer cells. So sometimes we take this process and we turn it around and we do it on purpose in order to benefit us. And evolution, which will be our next chapter after spring break. Mutations have been a source of genetic variation, which has led to the evolution of millions of organisms over billions of years. So you can see in the picture, there's a population of mice. Some are yellowish, some are black. The black ones blend in better with the background. That was a result of a mutation once upon a time in their genes. Some of the mice are eaten by birds. The mice that are eaten are those that can be seen. The darker ones can't really be seen, so the white ones get eaten. And then the next generation, there's more of them born with that black coat that blends in better. And their gene frequencies have shifted. That environment is favoring the dark mice. So more dark mice are going to be born because they survive long enough to reproduce. And that is the basis for our next chapter.